Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Raphael Hyde. Welcome back for another episode of Web3 Talks. Today, we're taking a different turn. We're going to talk about IoT. This is the first time we've had this discussion on the series, and I think a broad space. So we're going to chat with Raullen Chai, who is the CEO and founder of IoTex. So a little bit about his background before we jump into the conversation is before starting IoTex, he was a senior SWE and tech lead at Google. So we'll be able to reflect on those special times back at Google where we are today. And then he was the lead of crypto R&D engineering security at Uber. So another great experience that I'm sure drove into the work of IoTex. And then now he is an advisor at Boot Up Ventures and of course running IoTex. Why don't we start with your origin story, and then we'll jump right back to the state of the industry, because I'm always curious what excited people to pursue their Web3 journey. So maybe you can share that with us. Where did you get started?
Google, right?
Awesome.
So yeah. Let me kind of background a little bit. I did my PhD in cryptography in Waterloo actually around the year 2008 to 2012. So that's where Bitcoin white paper actually came out. So that's like my research was about cryptography, symmetric ciphers, encryption, how to crack a cipher type of thing, right? That's where I got into blockchain, Bitcoin really early in those days. Also, I'm part of like Canadian Bitcoin community at that time. But when I graduated around 2012, there is no such a thing called web3 industry, right? So Coinbase is still like a 3-person company or something like that. So that's why I joined Google. Guys, I'm a Googler actually. Stayed there for almost like 4 years, 4.5 years. So I was on the GFE team, the infra team. Yeah, so definitely like super emotional attached to Google. Then after that, I spent like 1 year at Uber, basically leading team for like cryptography research plus privacy plus some security stuff. So every time you use your kind of Uber app to log in, log out, that's my team, my system behind. And then after that, I started IoTex. So we have this big vision about how this blockchain real world should be connected using the IoT of machines, we started with like 2 other co-founders, and we have done like a round of fundraising in 2018. We expand the team. We kind of build our layer 1 down from scratch in about 2 years. So the layer 1 itself is actually running by 100 more validators right now. It's running pretty smoothly, and also has its native token. That part also works well in terms of like a CEX, listing, everything. Starting from last year, so basically I told my team says, all right, so our layer 1 stuff is almost done, right? But now we should think about what's the middleware that's kind of missing here in terms of how we can connect those machines sitting in the real world all the way back to the Web3 Dapps, right? Helium does an awesome job here. So they did everything kind of end to end, from device to the middleware, to the chain, to the application or token stuff. But there are like a lot of smaller players and builders, right? So that they are the real builders. So they want to do different things, or at least try a different approach for this decentralized wireless network. And they don't have the capital, the people to do all the things ground up. And how we can enable them to try out different things, right? So that's why we come up with this MachineFi. It's like an extended version for IoTex. So that's the things we are working on right now.
Gotcha. Do you want to show us? No pressure. Is there on the site or anything that might also connect some visuals? Because this is I feel like it's such an expansive topic in terms of all the nodes, or not nodes, blockchain nodes, but all the intricate pieces that have to be connected.
Yeah, give me a sec. Let me find the presentation deck I used last week during the Chainlink conference. That had some good visual element over there.
That sounds awesome.
Give me a sec.
I hope the conference went well. That sounds like fun.
Definitely. Trying to share my tab. All right. You guys can see my screen.
Coming through right now. Yep, I can see it now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I think a lot of things I was talking about are actually here. How can I do
on slideshow? Yep, right there next to
man, I'm not a Googler anymore. I don't know Google Doc.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so definitely like that's kind of like a value prop, like we're talking about in terms of like MachineFi, right? Standing between the devices and the DApps on multiple layer ones, BSC, Polygon, Ethereum, Avalanche Near, IoTex being one of them. So like the real kind of infra kind of piece, like the team has been working on, which we will be release a preview version in about 2 weeks from now. It's called WebStream. So if you look at the industry, right, there are multiple layer ones. There are many like a DeFi stuff here and there. But if you want to have a sort of decentralized Kafka, I assume everybody here knows Kafka, or like some sort of stream computing protocol, there is not much on the market. So we look around, and none of them are actually useful at all, right? So that's why we say, okay, let's build this one with some partners all together, like a Chainlink, Protocol Lab.
A quick question, sorry to interrupt you. Maybe can you explain that a bit for people that don't know what Kafka is, or maybe don't? When you said none of them are useful, were there like specific problems that you're like, we could solve this?
Yeah.
Because I think people might not know what that is.
Yeah, so definitely the problem is like you want to have like a infra decentralized protocol that talks with a lot of the machines, right? Could be your like a rings, your watch, your car, your solar panel, I don't know, something else. So those are like a large volume of data that you cannot do the computation on the blockchain for sure, right? So that's why like everything should be computed off the chain, and then like the proof of something actually happened in your house, or you have been running 3 miles every day, or you're healthy enough, or driving is safe enough, right? Those should be some sort of proof, not necessary to be a ZK proof, but could be a ZK proof. That goes to a smart contract, says, okay, you have done this, so you're eligible for some sort of token or NFT, right? So that's a principle. So we need such a kind of like a stream computing protocol to compress the data in a custom, in a flexible way. So developers can actually implement the logic here. Says, oh, I want to calculate, I don't know, like a driving score, based on data coming out from his like car, right? And do a proof to the chain. Like there is no such a thing on the market. We look around so hardly. So that's why we're building this in-house starting from last year, and we can see like the MVP is almost there.
Wow. So to drill into that a little bit more, and I think we'll talk about use cases after this, because I think this is really interesting. So in the case that maybe you have like PII with the user, but you want to validate that an event occurred, you can process that on the client, send whether yes or no, or I guess whatever like censored or encrypted data to the protocol, log that event, and then you can use that data to drive like some result, like a discount, or maybe like, I don't know, I guess services from a provider, whether it's like telecom or like healthcare. Okay.
Yeah, that's a point. I think you brought up a very good point. Here is privacy. We have some PII data here. So the thinking is the ultimate version will have, from device to the web stream, it's kind of end-to-end encrypted. Like a user has her whole control. We have some sort of DID mechanisms, embedded, so user can turn it on, turn it off, right? And then from like a web stream, we want to have this node actually be running on top of some sort of like a TEE, trusted execution environment. We're also talking with like the confidential VM from GZP. We are talking with that team too. So having some sort of like confined, trusted execution environment to processing the data in a privacy preserving manner, right? And then having some sort of like a ZK proof or like a hash or Merkle proof from the web stream to the DApp, basically to protect privacy into it.
Wow. That's fascinating. And so in this diagram here, the web stream is kind of like the value add of IoTex?
Yeah, so that's a thought. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so then in order for you to integrate with these L1 chains, is there like, what's that look like? Is it different types of integrations and different connectors?
Yes, so definitely like this one, we have like a different adapters, it's aside from the main protocol. Adapter on the left-hand side is basically, talking with different sort of like data sources, like different devices. And on the right-hand side is mostly about talking with different layer ones.
Wow, this is great. And then I'd love to hear about some of the use cases. I see a lot of icons there, but okay, perfect.
Yeah, so you read my so definitely like we're providing like some sort of a new design space for the Web3 developers, right? Because as you can tell, in the past few years, DeFi game or GameFi NFT, like the design space for them has been exhausted in a way. So we don't see much innovation here. So that's why we're kind of die down in this bear market, whatever. So we want to enable some really interesting use case here. So one thing is called X to earn. If you can connect your Rain, this Aura Rain, to this Dapps, you can prove like you have a good sleep, right, to earn some sort of token or NFT or some benefits from your employer, for example. So you can do drive to earn. So we're working with like a kind of hardware company. They do this OBD dongle in the car. So you purchase one, plug into a car, drive around, so you're contributing data to some sort of Google Map alternative to earn token, right? So this is the X to earn use case. And another one I personally like it very much is called proof of humanity. A big problem for like blockchain Web3 is like it's like a kind of, you have this MetaMask account, right, for everybody. So which provides some sort of privacy, but at the same time, so this one it's easy to kind of making like a millions of bot account and trying to getting reward in an unfair way from different DeFi or NFT protocols. So we talk with, for example, Avi, right? So they like to kind of personalize those accounts in a way. If this account has some sort of credential inside to prove this is actually a real person, so for example, Avi wants to give like a better lending rate to this account. So to do that, I think Vitalik mentioned about soulbound token. So definitely that's very true. But definitely you need some sort of like a data source to be emitted, to this account to show, oh, this is a real person. He lives here, or maybe, he walks 3 miles every day. He's driving a car, some sort of things, or he has been to East Denver, right? So those are things actually, can emit to the account to foster this use case called proof of humanity. So this will also be something very big. This will lead to, like a UBI, for example, universal basic income, right? For example, if California wants to give those people who's, kind of don't earn much, like $10 or like every day, then how to distribute this $10, right? Who do you give this $10 to? This proof of humanity provides underlying kind of infra for use case like that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And most importantly, like we're working with so many like a Web2 kind of business. So they want to transform what they already have into like a Web3. For example, we're working with the biggest like a in-house weather station company. So they have this kind of weather station, sitting in your backyard or like front yard, right? Trying to collecting like a micro climate data. So we're working with them, basically trying to turning them into like a human-like device. So they can have a token or an NFT to incentivize people to deploy such a thing here and there to earn tokens. At the same time, because the more you deploy, like the more the better precision you're getting in terms of those like a micro climate data, which produce lots of like a economic values here.
Wow. And this concept of proof of humanity, it's the first time I've even heard of that pillar. And knowing the contrast between these different types of use cases, industries, I guess your customers, how do you guys adapt your technology so it works for them? Because I'm guessing each of them may have a different level of like technical skill set or even like awareness to the space. So are you selling to them, or are you finding out that they have a need and you're like, this product works for that? Like, how does that engagement go?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, even before we built the web stream, right? So we talk so many like a DeFi protocols, so many like NFT protocols, and we are trying to learn what they want, what they need, right? It's some sort of like a Web3 credentialing, like they are needing. And then we're thinking about where this data is coming from, Oh, okay, so maybe it's coming from device, or maybe it's coming from other sources. That makes sense to them. So that's kind of like how we come up with the idea about the web stream.
Gotcha. And are you pursuing any of these in any particular order? Is there one that seems to have larger market share?
That's a really good point. I think in terms of like a near-term market share, those transforming Web2 business, they are very big. For example, this like a weather station company. Another one is like a kind of 4G kind of telecom company in Latin American. So they are already pretty big, but they want turning all their base stations into some sort of mining machines that give to people, right? So I think they are just come up with something like a really big in the near term. But in the longer term, I definitely see this programming the physical world has a lot of potential here.
Yes. Wow. I love this. And then what is the revenue model when, yeah, I guess for these different use cases for you?
For us, like still like I think a lot of revenue will actually capture by the web stream. So the thinking here is like we support different layer one, right? In order for the users, be able to use this drive to earn the app, user will have to maybe on BSC, let's see, right? User will have to deposit some sort of BNB into the web stream. So it will do the compute and give the proof to this BSC smart contract on behalf of the user, right? Because there is gas fee to pay. If that part works, so we will take a very small chunk of like a transaction fee, which will be kept in the web stream. As in the long run, the web stream itself will become sort of decentralized protocol. That means whoever stakes like for example, IoTex token will do like a profit sharing for those BNB that gets earned because they have 1 million user use this drive to earn kind of the app.
I love this. This is one of the I think this is one of the strongest use cases for an integration service into the blockchain that is built on so much utility. I feel like so many of the use cases you're describing, like they make an abundance of sense. So awesome job.
Thanks.
Is there one that you're most excited about, whether it's like good for the business or maybe just like a cool problem that you want to solve?
Yeah, so definitely like in terms like on the tech side, right? So yeah, I want to have like maybe some points about tech and also go to market. On the tech side, then definitely like there are a lot of kind of research that is ongoing, right? Like how can we massage these things into like a ZK snark without involving too much computation. So this is some sort of like a research. So we're collaborating somehow with some universities to do it. And on the go-to-market side, they feel like there are kind of 20 or 30 kind of customers already in the pipeline. We're having, sometimes having a hard time trying to see who's coming first, because we only have this many people. We have a very limited capacity in terms of like a team doing the integration. But definitely like it's great to see. It's like everything kind of, getting to one piece and kind of taking off right now.
Gotcha. Very cool. And I don't know if you have a slide on this, but where are you at in like the maturity of the service? Would you say this is like stable enough to be delivered in production, or is a lot of this still in development?
No, it's still like the version we are going to release by end of October is like a preview version. So actually, basically you can do some basic programming on this web stream, hook up to your maybe a Raspberry Pi, for example, do a demo. I think everything will work, right? But like in next quarter, so we will deliver like the 1.0 version that is more stable. That is kind of like a fully production ready.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. You said next quarter?
Next quarter, Q1 around February.
Okay, and then if you're able to share, is there which service or I guess which use case will that support?
By use case, what you mean? Sorry.
Oh, I wasn't sure if that release was focused on like a particular customer or a particular like chain integration.
No, it's actually for a lot of developers and hardware manufacturers.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Was there any other slides you wanted to show us?
I can show you guys maybe like the website we're going to launch. Let me try if I can find the link. They have a right here. Okay, so that's a web stream we're going to launch. End of this month. Nothing's public, nothing's final right now. But definitely like this is a beautiful piece of hardware infrastructure. So we're working on.
I love that animation.
Yeah. My design team has put a lot of thoughts into how do we visualize even to non-tech people why this is important and how it works.
This is beautiful. Wow, I love this.
Yeah.
This is so expansive. And I'm sure, so one of the areas of opportunity that I'm really excited about is these kind of services for like developing nations, because I find the technologies available are more constrained for mobile first, and there's a lot more, I guess, critical IoT needs that support like the livelihood of some of those communities. Is that something you guys are looking at, and how you can stand up, like, I guess, more technical services for developing countries that don't have as much infrastructure?
That's a really good important, or like also my very important point here, right? So if you look at like the networks in this world, there are a few of them, maybe base station towers, maybe car, like a fleets. All those machine networks needs a lot of upfront cost to deploy R&D, installation, kind of maybe customer support, right? And who's paying for that? Usually VC will pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you brought a very good point. Like for developing countries, that's not gonna happen, right? They don't have much capital up front. So doing everything in a very like decentralized P2P fashion, that's very important. Just giving people some sort of incentive in the long run, so they will purchase a piece of hardware, for example, charging station, right? Maybe install it in front of their house, so people can actually use. And in the long run, when this kind of real utility kicks in, it pays back to the people who's install the charging station.
Yeah. So that being said, then which markets are you finding the most traction? Is it stuff Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere, particular countries?
No, for now, I think it's still like a United States and North American.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, kind of the future that you see. Do you have a vision of what these, like, obviously these services will unlock a lot of ways to monetize data and to build other services? Do you have like a grand vision in 5-10 years, what you think will happen?
I do. A lot of people are talking about by 2030, there will be 100 billion like devices or machines around us, right? Transforming society fundamentally, and maybe replacing human jobs and contribute to maybe 30% of the global GDP. Everybody knows that's the future. And for now, if we look at like the something called IoT, Internet of Things industry, so everything is very stagnated, right? Like I said, this high upfront cost, no innovation, no much competition, pretty much like monopolized by like a few companies. For example, Amazon is doing the smart home stuff, and Tesla is doing the car, Apple is doing the phone. Everything's so close. So like my vision is like if we can kind of doing this MachineFi open up the design space, having some sort of composability built into those even hardware layer, right? So this will create a lot of competition as well as innovation. This will drive us to like the to the future, 2030 future. That's the machine economy we're talking about. McKinsey says so. This machine economy will worth like $12 trillion, which I do believe.
$12 trillion by when?
By 2030.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I heard I think it was I don't know if it was Kleiner Perkins was talking about the metaverse having like was it 6 billion by 2030? So like it's cool to see that the IoT has a bigger market, because I think I agree with that, especially with the utility that you're describing. So I guess that being said, who else is in the market? We talked about helium. Maybe you could catch us up on what's going on there.
Yeah, that's recorded.
It is, so you can share whatever you're comfortable sharing.
No, I think the helium is pretty cool. I love it, right? I love it. So I also have some like a helium mining machines in my home, like at a very early days. So generally speaking, I like helium a lot.
Gotcha. Do you guys work together at all?
Yes, we have some sort of like a unofficial kind of conversations with the team. So basically, you exchange something, exchange insights, exchange how we should do some potential partnership.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are they exploring any of the? Oh, and I'm not as familiar with helium. So in the way that you guys have the web stream service or protocol, are they exploring a service like that?
No, not yet. So helium, in the past, so they are kind of like a monolithic way to do the things, right? So they have layer one. Layer one has some sort of off-chain compute built in, which is called proof of coverage, POC, and on top of this, they have device and applications. And for now, I think the proposal, HEAP 70 or something, is talking about having this token settlement layer moving to Sonala, while having this POC off-chain compute layer living on cloud as a centralized service. I think that's their design for now. So we haven't talked too much with them. You guys should move to WebStream, but potentially yes in the future.
Oh, very cool. And then are there you're the first company that I've heard that is taking such a strong IoT approach. Are there others that are doing similar work?
There are very few like serious players. Like IOTA was like a kind of very early ones, but as you can tell, like they are not like doing anything. and there are like something very small, MXC, Streamer. Yeah, those are like a very small IoT players over there.
Gotcha. Well, good for you then that you guys have such dominance in the market today.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so what, with that being said, I'm always curious what people's perception is about kind of the Web3 industry and how it might get further adoption. Because obviously we are in this bear market and things have calmed down quite a bit, and NFT sales are down like 97% or something.
Yeah.
And so how does that affect you?
No, we're totally fine. So, I have been in this market since 2010-ish. So I have like been through those like a bear bull cycles like 2 or 3 times. Roughly, it's like every 4 year, right? You will have a hype, but then kind of driving down to the bear market. But bear market is really good, for builders. So that there's no much noise on the market, right? So everybody on my team is 100% laser focused on like what we should be doing right now. Unlike, in the boom market, everybody looking at, this DeFi protocol is getting on fire. This token is 100. So that's why sometimes I really love like a bear market.
Mm-hmm. I agree. The distractions like GameStop make it difficult to do your work.
Exactly.
Recently, I've been watching
Yeah.
that documentary, and I didn't realize how many ulterior effects it had across the different levels of people involved and all the hedge funds, etc. Well, that's good to hear. Are there any other areas of Web3 that excite you?
I think, like, generally speaking, I'm very bullish on the off-chain compute part, right? So if you think about blockchain layer 1, they're doing pretty fine, like a EVM, smart contract, slow but beautiful, right? But I feel like for a lot of, maybe 99% of applications, if we're talking about Web3 applications, they need some sort of like an off-chain compute part. So that like a WebStream being like one of them, and the rollup being another one of them, if you think about it, right? So everything like a rollup has is like, you do all the transactions off the chain and you bundle them all together and submit the data to the chain periodically, right? It's some sort of off-chain compute.
Yep.
That help Ethereum to do like a layer 2 scaling. And there are some other type of off-chain compute. So that's why I'm really bullish in this kind of infra piece.
Gotcha. And so that being said, it seems like there's also a large need for like analytics. Is that something that you guys are trying to solve?
No. So they're more like a kind of like customers of the WebStream. For example, we talk with Space and Time. There is like a bunch of money from Microsoft recently, right? So they are doing like a data warehouse or data lakes type of stuff. But even like they are getting the data from somewhere and store there doing the indexing. Yeah, not a huge focus for us right now.
Gotcha. And so for your customers that have all those different use cases, then do they worry about the analytics of the use of the web stream and how I guess the flow of tokens or credits work?
They do. So that's why like we are working with like a few of those teams to having them build some sort of analytics on top of WebStream, because WebStream will actually like keep the data, let's say for 3 months or 6 months, right? And they want to do some sort of like a dashboarding or like analytics on top of. So user can know what is going on. Okay, is this my device making money, or is this device getting connected on a daily basis?
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So of course we are Google and we are a platform business, and of course you know that very well. Are there any things that you would like Google to look at further or develop for the Web3 industry?
Oh, that's a really good point, actually. I think I know like how strong Google technology is, right? Compared to a lot of teams in the Web3 space. So definitely, I think there are a couple of areas Google should get into. One is those like key management, right? So assets custody services. Because if you look at the market, most of the solutions are very simple and also not secure at all compared to what I have been seeing at Google many years back. That's also means a lot of money, right? Asset management, key management, that means a lot of money. So you have to have like a top level security or team behind the scene. I think that's one. Another one is like a different like infra. So a lot of like a blockchain nodes nowadays, different like running on top of cloud, either Google Cloud, or DigitalOcean, or AWS. And I think something like an Alchemy type of model would be interesting, really interesting to GCP.
Gotcha. And then I think we've talked about this in the past, but you're using some of Google services today?
Yeah, we're using GCP actually to run some of the like the blockchain nodes, API services, because I have a very strong attachment to Google for sure.
Gotcha. So Aside from being a past Googler, were there any other reasons that you chose GCP?
GCP is awesome.
I'm going to push on a little bit further. Maybe you can walk us through what inside of GCP that you're using.
It's mostly like what's that called, GCE, like the virtual machines, Kubernetes, some sort of like the storage service. What's the name? It's S3 equivalent. Load balancer, which I was part of, like a founding stuff. Confidential computing on GCP. That's exactly true. We recently moved like one of our blockchain clusters to the confidential VM. Actually, I was talking with Nelly about this one.
Oh, very cool. Okay, nice. Yeah. And do you find that those services are any more superior on GCP than other cloud providers?
I have to say so, right? Because I'm here.
No, you can say, you can. I'd love just to hear whatever your honest opinion is. I'm gonna be honest. I am not as familiar with other cloud providers as they are one-to-one.
No, I definitely think, like, in terms of technology, Google is the leading one, no question asked, right? But AWS maybe did a better job in terms of like educating the customers. For example, I did see, when we hire someone, from like a SRE or engineer, so they have more familiarity on AWS compared to GCP. So there is a sort of like a learning curve for those engineers to get on board.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. I think hopefully if anyone in GCP is here, we can take that advice and we can do a better job at educating ourselves and our customers. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That was a lot of fun. I think we went into a lot of great details. I learned a ton. I hope everyone else learned a lot. And so we'd love to have you back maybe once you guys are launched, and we'll have some exciting stuff to discuss and obviously more use cases.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Host me a launch here in Google Campus, Mountain View. I'm close to here.
We would love that. I mean, we would really love to do this in person. I think it would be really engaging. We'll try to get some budget. With that being said, have a great rest of your day and week. Right. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day and week, and we will see you next time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks to see all the Googlers.